My name's Cam Calkoen and I'm looking forward to speaking today about how young people with disabilities can get into business. So I've always wanted to do something massive in this world, and I got to a world championship level. And as part of my sport, I had to go and speak on behalf of my sponsors. And I was speaking to my sponsors. I was really scared to do it. And then people were inviting me back, and I was like, whoa, like, what is the opportunity around this? So I googled speaking and I found out that people would get paid to do speaking, and I thought, well, how cool is that? Why couldn't I do this? And I set up my own business, which is all around inspiring people. At the moment, the foundation that I base it around is my speaking, but I know that to expand my business, I'm continually learning through embracing opportunities like reading and further education. Everything's got to start somewhere, right? And for me, my attitude is that the sky really is the limit. And I'm constantly, in terms of my business, looking for ways that I can get bigger. So straight away, I started in Auckland. How can I speak throughout New Zealand? And then why would I see water or sky as a barrier? So at the end of last year, I travelled to New York and I spoke in New York. And again, this is a person that no one knew me in New York. I didn't know anyone, but I knew I could do a few things. I knew I could tell a story and I knew I could write. So I wrote an email to everyone I knew, and that's it. It's just about being committed 100% so that you can write to people, so that you can communicate your plan and it will come back, but it definitely takes hard work and commitment. I guess my biggest speaking assignment would have been the first speaking assignment I ever did, because that's where it all ballooned from. So that was to a Rotary Club. In terms of my business, so I now ran Cam Calkoen Limited, and I spoke to NBC Universal. So for me, my goal as a speaker is to speak to the biggest teams, whether that be sporting or business or community, to further inspire change, not for what is wrong, but for the potential that we have to achieve. I meet quite a few young people who just don't know what they want to do. And I say, well, everyone can strive towards being awesome. And through striving towards being awesome, the rest will come. And I remember saying this to a young guy who came in and he really didn't know what he wanted to do, but he did know that he wanted to be active. He wanted to do sport, and he got into stair climbing, and he set the goal of climbing the Sky Tower. This young guy is called Jordan. He's in a wheelchair and he's got a great, the way in which he embraces life is inspiring. And Jordan climbed the Sky Tower, but he was looking at how can this be bigger than myself? How can I look at my story to make a difference in the lives of others? Now, Jordan's originally from Samoa, and being in a wheelchair in Samoa, he realised that it was really difficult. So what he did is he made his business of climbing buildings into a fundraiser, and for the money that he raised, he was able to buy these special wheelchairs so that people in Samoa could, it didn't matter how rough the terrain could be, they could still get over it, they could still live a meaningful life, and that would lead them to the dreams that they could create for themselves. So for me, that's a really cool example of someone who knew that within them there was more, but just didn't know what that was, and being in a position to think outside the square, to embrace opportunity, and to find the motivation that is within, because inspiration is all around us, but if you want real motivation, it's always in your heart. So when I was looking back on my business and setting up my model, it was around being supported and encouraged by people who knew what it took. So alongside Carabiner, as part of a charity, we set up Carabiner Mentoring, which is all about asking a young person, what is your goal and how can we get you to achieve it? So when it comes to business, someone comes in with a business plan and they get connected to someone who's been there, done that. So we've got a guy who his business was web design, and in Carabina it was about connecting him up with a web designer who could take him through the process of what it takes from having it on a dream on a bit of paper to becoming a successful business. So he's still working on it, this guy's 24 now, but the younger you find what you want to do in this world, I guess the opportunities are there for you to embrace. What I love about this world and the role that I do as a speaker, I get to meet some fascinating people, and I've met a lot of people with so-called disabilities, but I prefer to call extraordinary challenges, who are really doing extraordinary things. So there's a couple of people in New Zealand who have got into the wheelchair industry, so they've set up their own companies around mobility, and now these companies are incredibly successful. It's not just about they're past the evolution phase in terms of their own will this be successful. I guess their biggest challenge now is how do we maintain ahead of the crowd. So for me that's really encouraging to see, and I guess when we look at ourselves is that everyone has something that makes them unique, and if you can find that, if you can reflect on your experiences and find out how that can be packaged up to empower someone else, because someone else is going to be facing the same thing, or so you just want to get it out there.